Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Unleashing Potentials podcast. So, joining me today is Julie Leonard, all the way from Germany. Welcome, Julie. How are you?
Hi, hello. Lovely to be here. I'm really well. Sun is shining. All is good.
That's awesome. It's
Mhm.
raining here and it's very
Yeah.
gray. You can send me
Mhm.
some sunshine.
I will send it right over for you. No problem.
Yeah, I'm so happy to have you on the podcast and to talk about, you and then your expertise and what you're doing where you are.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, to start, can you tell us about you? Who is
Mm.
Julie?
Well, as you can probably hear by my accent, I am from Scotland and I'm currently living in Munich, Germany
Mhm,
with my Italian husband and my 8-year-old son. So I've been here around 9 years now. So
mhm,
living the expat life, international life, it's a very so and a great place to live. It has its challenges, but it's also a really great place. So I'm really happy here.
mhm.
But I grew up in Scotland, and yeah, I think my story is kind of I grew up in Scotland where we don't really talk about emotions so much, and I grew up really, really shy, really quiet, very introverted. It'll be really hard to believe because I love chatting, but I was very, very anxious as a child, as a teenager, right into my 20s actually. And I grew up, my father, who's very elderly now, has experienced depression his whole life. And indirectly through how he was, he often wasn't completely present or was quite sort of sometimes quite present, sometimes not, and sort of managing his own health. I mean, I've really talked about what was going on. And so indirectly through that, I kind of sort of internalized like just not feeling good enough and all those negative emotions that I think many people will resonate with of just not feeling quite good enough or not, you know, yeah, just not feeling great within myself and having very low self-esteem. And I grew up like that for a long time. My teenage years were just torturous. Teenage years are hard enough, but when
Mhm,
you're just racked with self-doubt and low self-esteem, it can be really challenging. And
mhm,
so I grew up like that. And I think it'll be no surprise then that I went on to study psychology. I think most people that do that are trying to figure things out and find the answers. So I went on to study psychology many, many years ago. This is in the late 80s. I'm in my 50s now, so a long time ago. And that really led me on this journey around mental health and well-being and happiness. And
mhm,
after I did my degree, I started working in the voluntary sector in mental health. I didn't go into psychology. I went into the voluntary sector and I had the absolute privilege of going to people's homes. This was the best education ever, to
mhm,
see people in their own homes and how they were living. And what I came across was so many people
mhm,
just existing, not living. And when I asked people what they wanted, time and time again, they said, I want to be happy.
mhm,
This is what people said to me over and over again. And this really sparked something in me. What is this happiness? How do we get it? How do we maintain it? And when I asked people what they wanted, or what that meant to them, it was all just such attainable and realistic things. It was, connection, relationships, a sense of purpose,
mhm,
being able to pay your bills, just living life. It was nothing extreme, elaborate. No one said I want to be a millionaire or I want to own a yacht. It was just very straightforward things. And that's what I worked on with people was to make those changes in their physical health, their emotional health, and their social lives. I
mhm,
was essentially coaching people. And I did that for over 20 years, mostly with women who experienced trauma. So I did a lot of that and the full spectrum of mental health. And then when I met my now husband and moved to Germany, I wanted to keep working for myself. That's my goal was to work for myself. And it felt such a natural continuation to go into coaching. And so now that's what I do with a passion for happiness, a passion for really wanting to convey to people that so much of your well-being and your life is within your control, that you can change things. I want to share that through my story. That's why I share my story. I was this very shy, anxious, nervous person with no self-esteem or self-belief, and it is a journey and a work in progress, but, I'm definitely a very different person that sits here in front of you today. And that's what my work is. I really support women to let go of their limiting beliefs, to really declutter and simplify their lives, to get really intentional about their lives and their happiness, to
Mm-hmm.
become much more proactive in their lives rather than reactive. And that's what I do through one-on-one coaching and my group programs. And it's after 30 years, I still absolutely love what I do.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing work you're doing to help women. I have never heard of a decluttering coach, and
Mm,
I love that word. And
yeah,
I had to learn to love it. Obviously, all of us have some kind of clutter. When people
yeah.
think of the word clutter, they think, oh, it's your home. Certain
Mm-hmm.
things you got to get rid of and move. But
Mm-hmm.
what I'm sensing is that you do it with the person on a mental level and other levels that they need to declutter. So I love
Yeah.
that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I call myself a decluttering coach because I think there's quite a movement now, and I think people are really recognizing that in terms of like having lots of physical stuff, possessions. We've really been uh, told that the more stuff we own, the happier we'll be. And I think people are starting to recognize that actually that can actually have a converse effect and have a really big impact on how we feel.
Yes.
So, but the what I find after, decluttering and coaching people through that for over 25 years is that, it's not simply about being lazy or procrastinating. We attach so much meaning and emotion to objects that it becomes very difficult to let them go. And that we have to process so much of the meaning behind each thing that we have. And that
Mhm.
there's very good reason why we have certain things and why we hold on to things. For
Mhm.
some people, it's quite simply can feel very safe and secure to have possessions around. For other people, it becomes really like a noise and an actual clutter, something that interferes with life. And for many people, it's very overwhelming. So for me, it's not something about organizing your stuff. I'm not, that sort of really home organizing, everything looks really pretty. It's very much about coaching people to let go of the stuff and why they have it. But
Mhm.
you're absolutely right. I started off in that way in a very physical space, decluttering, and I still do that. People carry me around with Zoom. It's wonderful. Now you can go in Zoom and I declutter homes all around the world, and it's fascinating and
Mhm.
wonderful to support people through that. But what I'm really encapsulating now is the bigger, wider aspect of that, that we need to declutter our minds from the negative beliefs that we have learned and turned over all these years and reinforced with our experiences that hold us back from living the life that we want to lead. So I love through my self-compassion work, help women retrain and let go of the negative and replace it with much more positive self-talk. But
Mhm.
we extend it wider into the home, to the digital world. I don't know if anyone else is like me, but I'm often running out of space on Google because I have so many pictures and emails and stuff. And so that's a constant work of, that's also become another space where we have so much overwhelming clutter that just gets, and also working with people to declutter their lives or their life commitments that we easily get involved in that maybe don't serve us anymore, or the people in our lives that maybe aren't so healthy or toxic or draining, or maybe that take up so much space that we don't spend the time with the people that really light us up and make us feel joyful. So I love through my programs to take people through that. I have a Simplify Your Life program where we go through that month by month, where I really coach you through really looking at each aspect of your life and, clearing it out so that then you can focus on what's truly important.
Mhm.
And it's a fascinating process and it's really interesting. And I think, we often like review, you know, our job. Many of you will be in careers where there's regular reviews of your progress and how you feel you're doing. But I don't think we tend to do that so much in our actual personal lives. We tend to be on that hamster wheel and we just keep going and keep going. And
Yeah.
so my group programs are space just to stop, to pause, to reflect, to work through and to really examine so that you're much more proactive in your life. So
Mhm.
yeah, that's how I approach clutter in our lives.
Yeah, yeah. No, I love the way you approach it because maybe someone else sees it differently. So it's good to have different angles and perspective to
Yeah.
understand it. So I appreciate the way you work with the term decluttering and coaching as well.
It's really
And
evolved over time. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, you were just saying about your phone. I
Yeah.
every new year or throughout the month, I delete videos and pictures and it gives me space. And then my email gets, it is saying it's full. And then I have to
Mm,
delete some stuff we have to declutter. We are forced to do them, whether it's mentally, spiritually, or physically. We just have to do them.
mhm,
Yeah,
mhm.
yeah. Give me some scenarios of the process of your work with
Yeah.
a new client that you're working with, for
Yeah.
example.
So if someone's coming to me, what I find is sometimes people come to me with, a specific issue. A lot of the time people come to me and, life is okay,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not amazing. Or they feel like I should be happy, I have a job, I have my family, I have the house. I should be, but they're not feeling fulfilled or they're feeling like things are quite misaligned. So
Mm-hmm.
I really like to get to know the individual, to get to know you. So I spend time getting to know you. And then we really figure out what your goals are and what's holding you back. So of course, first of all, I do think the mindset work is really important because if you don't believe you can have that dream job or that dream life or that dream relationship, you're not going to get it. It's going to hold you back. So I really like to look at like what limiting beliefs are around, what comes up for you, because we all have that to a greater or lesser degree. And probably if you're coming to me, it's because there's something there holding you back. So we do a bit of work on that to eliminate that, to reduce that. And everything I do is based on a lot of research, it's based on neuroscience and neuroplasticity. So it's all techniques that help you change your brain. And that's what's really important is that nothing is fixed. You can change your brain.
Mm-hmm.
And then looking at like what is your life like now? And what can we clear out of that? So letting things go. And then really having a clear plan of what is it you want, what lights you up, what gives you purpose, what is important to you, and setting those goals and working towards them. So as a coach, I can help you get there a lot faster. I can help you clear that all the stuff that holds you back. I can help you get a clear picture and clarity in what it is that you want, what would make you happy, what would give you purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And then together we work on those goals and I keep you accountable and I keep you motivated so that you're working towards that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's in general what I do with people.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, very, very individual, or even in, I have group programs too. So I think that's also really important where I can still give individual attention, but also there's something so powerful about being in a group with other like-minded people and to realize that you're so not alone, that everyone else is feeling the same way, everyone else has got the same struggles.
Mm-hmm.
And I work with women from all around the world. And yeah, there are differences, but pretty much what I've found over all these years is everyone's got the same stuff going on. Everyone feels the same way. Everyone feels alone. Everyone feels like
Mm-hmm.
it's just me, I'm not coping. And so there's really power in coming together and creating these really supportive groups where you're so not alone and we're all here in the same boat, figuring out this journey through life. But together we can really encourage each other. And, when we come together and cheer each other on, we can achieve so much more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right. Thank you for bringing that up. And that's something I try to echo in everything that I do. Uh,
Mm,
and I've talked to so many incredible coaches like yourself who are also integrating that system in their work, which I
mm,
find is powerful because it's easy to feel that we're the only one, especially when we're in the worst state of mind or place in our lives. So
yeah.
I admire people like you who create community and welcome people to really dig deep and find themselves because I find we can easily lose ourselves in society or even in family situations as well.
Very much.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I really resonate with that. As I say, growing up, I was just alone in my own head all the time. I had no one to talk to.
Mhm.
Um, and so I just was in my head, and that just made things worse. I just became more and more anxious. You know that when you're just caught in this cycle of negative thinking and it just
Mhm.
spirals. So I was always highly anxious. I was always nervous. I
Mhm.
wasn't able to figure things out. I wasn't able to process stuff. And it wasn't till I studied psychology and then I was out working and learning on the job and learning all these techniques over the years. I've been able to pick up meditation and mindfulness and EFT and breath work and self-compassion. I've learned so many tools that I could apply to myself, then I can teach to others. But it wasn't till then that I could start to, figure stuff out and process that. And that's what drives me, because I know what that's like, because it's one thing to have issues, to have challenges in your life, to go through things and to go through traumas. No one goes through life unscathed.
Mhm.
We all have stuff, but it's different when you suffer from it because there's nowhere for you to go to figure it out. And that's what really drives me, because I know what it's like to feel like you're suffering and to not have a space to go with that. And that's what I want to do, is to create those spaces where you
Mhm.
can sit down and talk about it, have those conversations. And it's so not easy just to sit on your sofa and think, what's going on in my life? What would I like to change? It's
Yeah.
really hard to go deep enough by yourself.
Yeah.
And that's why a coach or a counselor or a therapist or someone, a mentor, anyone like that, that's why it helps, because we can go deeper with you. We can ask those questions. We can challenge you. I like to think that one of my skills is to take that jumble of thoughts in your mind.
Mhm.
And I'm quite good at sorting all that out and prioritizing and help you navigate and sort it out.
Mhm.
And I know what that's like. We all need a team around us of people that can help. And
Mhm.
that's why I like what I do, because you don't need to suffer. You don't need to struggle.
Mhm.
There are options. So much of your happiness is within your control. And the research shows that there's so much that you can do to
Yeah.
change. But often we need a little bit of support to do that.
Mhm. Mhm. Or some people need an awakening. It could be spiritually or physically.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Maybe it's an illness or death, which obviously I don't wish on anybody to have any of those, but sometimes life has to drive us to the cliff to pull back to say this is not what I want,
Yeah.
and to make some life changes and to learn from those as well. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, it happens for many of us. That's the moment, and we all have those moments. I had that. I lived in a relationship, I think, coming out of my upbringing. I went into a relationship that actually turned out to be very difficult and quite toxic and very challenging. And I stayed in it way longer than I ought to. And because of the challenges that were there, my world became very small. I had my work, and that was my lifeline, and I went out there and I excelled at work and did so well. But home life became very small. And when
Mhm.
I eventually had the courage to leave that relationship, which was very toxic, I remember the first day of being by myself and literally sitting on my sofa. We were talking about cats before we came on. I had my beautiful cat with me.
Oh, nice.
And I remember just sitting on the sofa and thinking, I need to get out there again. I hadn't been out, I hadn't socialized, I hadn't traveled into anything for years. And I remember thinking, I'm terrified to go out there and do all of that. But I remember just having this moment of like, what's more frightening? Is it to stay as I am or to go out there and push myself? And I realized it was more frightening to stay stuck than to go out there. And that was my moment of like changing my life. And I went for it. I went on like holidays and traveled and went out dancing and sort of lived my 20s and my 30s. And because of that, because I started going out and being open and pushing myself, and it wasn't easy. I mean, many days of like, imposter syndrome coming up and feeling really nervous. But because of that, I eventually said yes to a friend who said, come be my plus one at a wedding in Romania. And I met my now husband there, Italian, who was
Wow.
living in Munich. And that's how I ended up here in my life. So,
Mhm.
yeah, we all have these moments. But I also hope by talking that maybe we can also learn that this is the life we want to live before we get those really big wake up calls, that this becomes more of a conversation, that we realize more and more that what's truly important in life and how we measure success isn't all about status and money and our belongings. It's something else. And I have a Facebook community. We have well over 1,000 women there. And I've polled them and asked, what does happiness mean to you? And it's the top 3 answers all the time. It's people describe happiness as a sense of peace, a sense of calm, and feeling balanced. And then, I think after the pandemic, people talked about feeling safe and secure. They talked about relationships. And there's a lot of research about how relationships and connection is a number one factor. Loneliness is growing and growing and growing in our communities. And so I say that to illustrate that happiness is also much more about an internal state. And I think people are realizing that more and more and more, that it's something, of course, we need a certain amount of money. We need a certain sense of safety and security. And we all like to have nice things and have the opportunity that, health and money and well-being afford us. But there's something else that we're looking for. And I think that's why we are feeling this malaise in life, that I have what's meant to make me happy, but I don't always feel happy. It's very short-lived happiness. And so, this is why I want to talk about it, so that it doesn't have to be a big aha moment. It can be, well, life isn't feeling so good. Let's check in and let's make changes.
Yeah, thank you for touching on happiness, because so many of us don't understand what happiness is. Yes, we can define the word and find the meaning of it, but we don't necessarily know how to apply it in our lives, or how to give it away if we don't have it. I always say, if you don't have something, what you cannot give it because you don't have it, you lack it. Yeah, I love that you touched that. It's not always about money or what you have. It's more than that. And sometimes in our lives, it takes time, and it takes losing certain things. Maybe it's losing a car, a home, or a family being disconnected, or a move, or death, just to realize that what I just lost was what was making me happy, was having my family connected and together. And it wasn't the car. Or it could be recovering from a car accident and realizing that the car doesn't matter. What matters is that my family is okay, that I survived it. And those are just different perspectives that people have to go through, situations they have to go through to just realize where their true happiness relies.
Absolutely. Like, when you feel happy, but it's quite hard to identify what it is. And it's definitely, and we often say, when I have more money, I'll be happy, or when I will have this nice car, I'll be happy, or when I, go on this holiday, I'll be happy. It's always like, when I have this, it's like a destination. It's like, when I have this, I'll be happy. And what you realize is that's not always the case. And it's not like a sort of definitive thing. It's more about this internal state and being in the moment and feeling connected and feeling purposeful in your life. And what you're describing is, I've heard recently, I was listening to a podcast and they describe it really well. Like, a lot of events are quite neutral, but it's what we attach to it. Whether, like you say, if you have a car accident, whether you decide, well, oh my gosh, I had a car accident, and you spiral down that negative, or you say, well, everything's fine. It's just a car. Everyone's fine. It's okay. And so it's how you choose to interpret a lot of things. And that's in no way to diminish, for anyone listening who's been through extremely challenging times or trauma. It's not to diminish that, but it doesn't have to define you. You can utilize that in a way where you can become happier in your life, and you can take much more control over that. So it's very, very important to define what happiness is for you. And it's not like, I don't sit here saying like I'm just happy all the time. I'm so not, like, I don't sit in a little happiness bubble, like, for me, happiness is that sort of feeling more peace in my mind. And I do feel more calm and balanced internally and externally, that work-life balance and that internal sense of balance are better. But of course, there's times in my life where it goes up and down and I feel out of kilter. But overall, for me, it's also like I feel like I have the tools and the network and the support to navigate what life throws at me.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I would
Yeah.
describe it. Like I can navigate, the challenges, and they come up a lot. But I have the resources to keep moving forward and be resilient in what it is.
Yeah.
And I can process whatever it is, that comes up. And that I have purpose in my life. I'm very fortunate that what I do, my job, gives me such a sense of purpose that I feel like I have a lot of meaning and purpose in what I do in my life. And that I have some true deep connections. And that for me is my happiness. Yeah. But obviously, as I say, it's not like, I'm happy every moment. I wish. But no, life affects me as well, and pretty hard at times as well.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Because so many of us depend on others for our happiness. Like you just said, finding what you do, it brings you a deep sense of meaning and happiness. And there's so many people that goes to work and they're miserable. Maybe they've found their purpose, maybe they're not putting enough to get the results that they know they should. And sometimes I find that some people may get ruffled a little bit if someone's telling if someone's telling them, hey, this is what you should change. I think that would improve your well-being, your happiness. Have you dealt with anyone like that kind of go against with what you're trying to help them with?
Well, fortunately, because I'm a coach, people tend to come because they want to work on stuff. So I don't get as much. But of course, there's always people that are resistant. And I understand what you're saying. And, no one likes to be told, well, if you did this, things would be better.
Yeah.
But what I would do, you've got to understand where people come from. We're such a combination of our upbringing, our society, our life experience. People have that. So it just makes me work a bit harder, doesn't it? And to really understand where that person's coming from and where that resistance comes from or what's going on. But I would say, sometimes, like what you're describing, I've had that, well, this is my job and I can't change job, or I'm not in a position because you've got bills to pay. And so this is it, and it's a good paying job and I have to suck it up. What I was saying is like, and also I have people saying, well, I can't, I don't feel I can, break ties with family members, that's my family, or I'm not in a place, I don't feel ready to do that, even if it's really toxic. So what I would say in those situations is when you feel that something is maybe it depletes your energy or depletes your happiness, but you don't feel that you're able to change that right now, it's making sure there's things that try and counterbalance that. And this is where that balance comes in. So, if you are working really hard, all respect to you. And if it feels like that's what you need to do or you want to do, it's making sure that there's joy in there as well. There's fun stuff, or, if you have people in your life who are challenging or toxic or bring you down, but you don't feel able to pull away from them or you're unable to, then just having people in your life where there are good people in there that are counterbalance that, or where you do things that bring you joy in your life, or you find little pockets in there that will try and balance that up a little bit. And also that's where working on you really helps. When you're surrounded by negativity or where you feel quite alone, it's to work on yourself that's also important, where you can feel more confident and more sort of grounded and rooted in yourself, where you're not then reacting to the outside stimulation. Because what happens then is when your happiness is external, when things are great, you feel great. And when they're not going well, you feel terrible. And so you're roller coastering through your life. Roller coastering, I don't think that's a word. It feels like you're going up and down in your life. And so that, that feeling where you're just up and down all the time. So when you can feel more anchored in yourself and feel more confident in who you are, you can buffer that. It means that you won't go so extreme. And so that would be my advice. If you feel like you're listening to someone, but I can't change this, or I'm not able to do that. What are the things that you can change? What are the things that you can take control over? Where can you get some more balance in your life that's positive? even
Mhm.
when it's 5 minutes in a day. A lot of the stuff that I teach is literally 5 minutes. If you think you don't have time to meditate, 1 minute breathing will change how you feel. Three
Yeah.
deep breaths can override your nervous system.
Mhm.
My self-compassion work is 5 minutes.
Mhm.
So much that you can do that actually makes a difference. It doesn't have to be hours and hours of your time. So
Yeah.
find that balance and do things that pour into you as well, so
Mhm.
that you can try and, you know, pour into your energy as well as handling the stuff that's depleting your energy.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I was watching something just last week, and they were talking about family issues because
Mhm.
I think uh, all of us have our own special family cases going on, and it was an hour long. I truly enjoyed it. Um, but sometimes there are those family members. They're like, the thorn in roses or flowers. You just
Mhm.
gotta kind of walk on eggshells to be around them.
Yeah.
And so many of us feel like we have to hang on, even though we're bleeding and we're suffocating, just being around those people, just for having them in our lives. Some of us don't know when to let go and when to quit.
Mhm.
Just because someone's related to someone, you do not have to die for their mistakes or the way they live their lives. I
Yeah.
think it still takes so much work to disconnect those people, to pull them away from the clutter that they're surrounded by with their family trauma or drama, all of it.
Very much, very much. Yeah, I think all of us have, again, to a greater or lesser degree, something that is
Yeah.
difficult. Our parents are a product of their generation and
Mhm.
what they've been through, and they're shaped by their parents. You can see it. And I think at times it's, as you get older, you're able to step back and see your parents or other family members for the people that they are and not just the
Mhm.
relatives. But if you think about a lot of the language that we use in English,
Yeah.
we say things like blood is thicker than water. And think of the things that you've been taught about, you put family first, or you should always help others before yourself. These are things I hear over and over again from my clients and what I grew up with, and I think, in Canada, in America, where I come from, the UK, this is very common stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And you carry these things. So it feels like, well, you have to because they're your family. And
Mhm.
I do believe the bottom line is if someone hurts you or makes you feel awful about yourself or just
Mhm.
makes you miserable, you
Yeah.
don't have to be around them, no matter if they're family or friends. And
Mhm.
a lot of the time I ask people, would you tolerate that person if that was a friend? And they're usually like, no, you know? And so
Yeah.
I think it's always a process and a journey. It's a big thing to completely disengage from a family member. And I would never say to someone, well, you have to do that. Everyone is different. I'm always there to be like, whatever you decide, I support you in it.
Yeah.
I think it's important to be on that journey and to know that to give people permission to say it's okay. You're not, doesn't make you a bad person or unkind person to say, I cannot be in this relationship.
Mhm. Mhm.
It does not make you a bad person. It's okay to put yourself first and your needs first.
Mhm. Mhm.
However, you don't always have to do that, but there's ways of working through a lot of the stuff that comes up from that so that you can protect yourself
Mhm.
and manage that relationship. I
Mhm.
know I've been in that where, I think if this is okay, but where my younger self is often being very hurt by family members and being able to show up and not always hope that things will be different. I think we do that a lot, that we often hope that because it's family that maybe the next time it will be better or the next phone call will be easier or the next time will change. And I think we do that a lot. And that's where we get a lot of our hurt
Mhm.
because we keep
Yeah.
hoping it will be different. And
Yeah.
I think over time, if it doesn't change, we can respect the person for who they are, but we can also say, well, I have to look after me in this as well.
Mhm.
We all
Mhm.
have our stories, we all have our traumas, we all have our stuff, but
Mhm. Yeah.
it so I think it's important to say you're allowed to remove yourself from someone and it doesn't make you a bad person. and you don't have to feel guilty about it. You're allowed to put yourself first. But
Yes.
whatever you decide
Mhm.
is okay for you.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I needed to hear that.
Yeah, I get a sense of that, yeah,
Maybe
and
other
I talk
people
from
will
lived
watch and
experience as well of
yeah.
working to disengage from family members,
Hmm.
which I didn't do for, probably about 50 years. And
Yeah.
that's how I can manage it. I'm not completely disengaged, but I'm definitely more distant from it and protecting myself.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
that is okay. That is okay. It's not what I would like. It makes me sad, but it's okay. It's what I have to do. I can be sad that I can't have that relationship, but it's also okay.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, you just said an important word. It's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's okay. Sometimes that's all someone needs to hear. It's okay. And yeah, there are those people who they're like energy vampire. They just pull and
Mhm.
take everything from you. And I love that you said it's okay because it somehow gives me a sense of peace that I'm not the bad guy. I'm not the bad person for wanting to be healthy, for wanting to do better. And so many of us, we tie our identities and traumas to uh, our family, the generation. It's karmic. That's the word I'm
Yeah.
looking for.
Yeah.
It's like a vicious cycle, and it doesn't stop until it takes a strong person like you to say it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay to go the other way. It's okay to want something different than my family, because there'll always be family members who will not accept what someone does as if that person is underage or still a child. It's setting boundaries. I've talked so much about boundaries on the podcast. There's boundaries with everything, really. But if someone lack and doesn't have strong boundaries, then they're in for quite a ride. And sometimes they just need a hand to hold to help them with decisions that they're making. What are your thoughts on boundaries?
Yeah, yeah, I agree with everything you're saying, and I like being really transparent. As much as I've done all this work, it took me a long time to figure out that I can step
Mhm.
away. It took me many years in a very toxic relationship to get
Yeah,
out of it, and
yeah,
it's hard to leave someone who is struggling and suffering. But there's a point where you have to say, "But I can't do anymore," and it was almost killing me,
mhm,
or now to work out on this journey. So I would say first and foremost, be kind to yourself if you're on that journey, and don't beat yourself up all the time. I do think it happens right on time. It happens at the right time. Somehow you do the right work with the right person, you find the right one, it all clicks together, and eventually you figure out, yeah, this is what I need to do. So
mhm,
be compassionate with yourself that you'll get there at the right time.
mhm.
But boundaries are important. And I always think, yeah, we're talking here. And like, if I was describing my situation, what would you say to me? I'm sure you would give me really solid advice about it's okay for you not to tolerate that, or that's not okay for you to be in. It's okay for you to say no to that. Yet when then we talk to ourselves, it's this really harsh, and I would say often a very nasty, harsh, critical voice that beats ourselves up because we feel that we do that. It's okay for everyone else, but I can't do that.
Yeah,
Here comes the guilt. Here comes all this stuff, all those limiting beliefs. That's why, if we circle back to what I said at the beginning, start with decluttering that mindset, because it's hard to move forwards if you don't deal with that stuff, all those beliefs.
yeah,
But you're
yeah,
absolutely right. Is this you're calling it karma? I'd call it intergenerational
yes,
trauma,
yes,
intergenerational stuff that we inherit and we have and we're a product of. And yeah, for me, I'm like very much right now, the work I'm doing on myself is this stuff stops with me, or as much as I can. I've got an 8-year-old son. I can see some of the stuff that goes there. That was one of my turning points as well, was having my son.
mm,
And then realizing, oh gosh, this is how I want to be with him. Oh, I didn't have that as my parents. Oh, and that was like, oh, I need to work through this. And I want to be different with him.
mm.
Her kid's got a life coach and a mom who's working on stuff. He's just constantly like, I know you love me. I know. He's like too
Yeah,
much the other way, probably. But if that's his complaint, I'm always telling him I love him, then we can live with that. There's all you can't get it right, can you?
Mhm.
But that was one of my impetuses, was to be like, this stuff ends with me. I'm sick of carrying all this stuff around. It's not even my stuff. I'm sick of having all this, negativity and limiting beliefs and all my imposter syndrome. Enough. It stops now.
Mhm.
We stop this. And
Yeah.
so and to me, that's not weakness. It might feel like you're a bad person, or you feel
Yeah.
guilty for setting boundaries. But to me, you are strong, you are gritty, you are determined. And I have so much respect for people that can look at that and say, I'm going to put myself first, or
Mhm.
I might put myself equal with other people that I think are important in my life. I am as important as anyone else. And the work I'm going to do now stops this now.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. And an example in my situation, I've been stepped over and walked on all my life.
Mhm.
And over time, I've built thick skin. Um, I'm an empath, okay? I feel for people and I have a big heart. I'll give them my all. But there are times when I'm a soldier, because I've been through so much, I don't put up with much. And I've filtered and I know what's right. And I
Yeah.
wish that for everyone. And I know for some it will take time, and that's okay as well, right? But for some, they need to wake up and realize what's going on, that they're slowly fading away. Some people, especially after the pandemic, there's no light in their eyes anymore. There's no drive, no passion. It's sad. As an empath, I pick up all of that, and I have to filter it when I get home, or however ways that I can. That's
Mhm.
why I always tell people I wish you love, light, life, and peace, because yeah, we're breathing and living, but how much are we doing to make what of the time we have in this life?
And again, like you said, it's not until you get that wake up call, like an illness or a,
Mhm.
a death of someone close, or losing your job, or becoming bankrupt, something really big, that you realize what's truly important. And
Mhm.
again, we don't want to get to that in order to realize that. But if you do, I think, as you're describing, even if it feels like everything in your life is just crap, if you feel like you've just lost your way, or if you just feel like everything is just, you're so overwhelmed that you can't see a way forwards. And I know that feeling.
Yeah, yeah,
There
yeah.
is a way out, and that's where you reach out, whether it's to a good friend, a counselor, a coach,
Mhm.
somebody, or at least start listening to podcasts, listen to things, be inspired,
Yeah.
follow people that are motivating. That's what I do. Put on the headphones, go listen to stuff, hear
Mhm.
another world, but start, or just do tiniest step. Don't think, oh, that won't make a difference.
Mhm.
I'm a big believer in no 0 days. I love this concept. I teach about that in my course.
Yeah.
Like, do something. Say you want to get back into reading a book, say just something really simple. I love reading, but I never have time, or I've lost the concentration.
Mm.
Read one line, read one page
Yeah.
every
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
Just do one.
Mhm.
And then that will become 2 pages. That will become three. It'll become a chapter. It'll become your lost in a book. It gets momentum. If you want to exercise, walk up one flight of stairs, take one walk around your living room, just do something. Something is better than nothing. It'll
Mhm.
never stay at that. It will build momentum.
Yeah.
If you want to write your book that you're always saying, write one line, write one word.
Mhm.
If you want to make connection, go to one group, reconnect with one friend, send a message to someone. One thing, one is more than nothing.
Mhm. Yeah.
So no matter how hard it feels right now, there is a way out of it. And you
Mhm.
absolutely can create that life that you want.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Can you tell me more about your book?
Yeah. Bright yellow book. Yeah, I wrote a book called The Life-Changing Guide to Being Happy and
Mhm.
Staying Happy. And so yeah, through all this work,
Mhm.
through all these years of seeing, I guess going into people's home and seeing firsthand what life is like.
Mhm.
I realized that there is so much that you can do.
Yeah.
And it kind of evolved. Someone asked me to create like a more like a sort of goal setting accountability group. And I'm always this person where, yeah, probably from that sort of imposter syndrome, I have to keep giving more and more. So I could have just turned up and kept people accountable, but I started wanting to sort of look at a topic, and it really started to evolve into this kind of like, yeah, with goal setting, you can be more with purpose. You can really create your own happiness. So this
Mm.
whole sense of purpose and happiness and being in control of your happiness evolved into intentional happiness. This phrase really resonated to get
Mhm.
to really take control of things. And so my book is very thin. I love self-help books. I love self-development. I bet you've got a massive stack of them. You strike me as a person who
Oh,
probably
yes.
has a stack of them. I've got them, love them, millions that I've still to read, but I love them.
Mhm.
But also, I find that a lot of them are overly long and the message could have been given in like the first page. But, as a
Yeah.
book, you have to make it longer, with all due respect to my fellow authors and amazing esteemed authors who are published.
Mhm.
But I wrote a very concise book where it was just practically, here's the 12 steps. And it's the 12 steps of my group program, which is 12 months with me, month by month, working through creating an intentionally happy life.
Mhm.
And so we cover a lot of stuff about getting clarity, clearing out the negative, decluttering, and then really getting clear on what you want, and then really creating the space to do that and getting intentional. And by intentional, it means consciously working on things.
Yeah.
So, for example, if I'm saying, well, right now I'm doing it. Right now, I want to exercise more. I'm a terrible person for exercising. It's my one thing that annoys me. Yeah, I want to and I need to, but I'm rubbish at it.
Mm.
But to say, oh, I'd like to be, healthier or more active is one thing. But to
Mm.
be intentional about it means that every day I work on it. I consciously work on it. So every day this week from Monday, I've been out walking every morning because that's it. What am I going to do today? How do I intentionally and consciously choose to be active?
Mhm.
Or if I want to eat healthier, what am I doing every day to plan my meals and eat healthily?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
if friendships are really important to me, is one of the most important things for happiness. Am I talking to someone? So every day, am I messaging a friend? Am I meeting up with someone? Am I arranging it? Am I consciously choosing the things that are good for me and healthy for me?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
that's what it's all about.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah.
love that. Tell me more about the weekly women's group that you have.
Yeah,
Yeah.
please, everyone, come join me. When I moved to Germany, again, very clear. I do believe that you make things happen. I don't believe in luck. So
Yeah.
if I could quickly just say, like, when I moved to Germany, I could easily have said, well, I really hope it works out. I hope I meet people, etc. But
Mhm.
I decided to be, as a coach, work on it. So I set myself some goals. I wanted to learn the language. I wanted to have a coaching business.
Mhm.
I wanted to have a baby.
Mhm.
There was a number of things like that. I wanted to make a network. And when I went home that December, I had my coaching business, my diploma. My German was okay, still not that good. It's a hard language, but I had worked intensively on it, and I was 5 months pregnant. And everyone said to me, "Oh, you're so lucky." And I was like, I'm so not lucky. This isn't luck. Luck really diminishes the hard work you put into stuff. I worked really hard. I was 4 hours a day in German classes. That's not luck. That's hard work,
Mhm.
And so I really believe you create a lot of stuff.
Mhm.
So one of the things I wanted to do was to meet people and make connection. And so I set up, I'd read about this for a long time, like the idea of like a happiness club, a bit like a book club, get together and talk about stuff. So I started doing that, and I grew this group while I was pregnant. So 9 years ago, I started it here in Munich.
Wow.
We met in person every month for like years. Then the pandemic hit, and I was working online already, but I brought it online. And then I started to build it up. So I have a Facebook group, which please come join the Happiness Club Facebook community. We do lots of nice stuff in there.
Mhm.
And I created some other groups through Meetup. And I thought, well, here we've got this thing called a pandemic. No idea what this is going to be like.
Mhm.
Might be a tough month, I naively thought. let's meet every week and just be
Yeah.
together.
Yeah. Yeah.
And whatever we are now, how many years after that, 3.5, 4 years later, I still run it online every week.
Mm-hmm.
And every week we talk about something connected to happiness. It might be a piece of research that I read. It might be a TikTok trend that we want to explore. It might be something really rooted in neuroscience or something. And I bring that to the group. I share about it and we talk about it. And hopefully there's a nugget of something that you want to take away. But also we're bringing women together from all around the world and just creating this lovely community of positive, kind, caring people who are just really supportive and lovely. It's just such a joy to be in, and just creating this, I guess, a movement of happiness and kindness that sends these ripples out. Because when you're happy in yourself, or when you're feeling kind in yourself, you're kinder to others, and then they are kinder to other people, and we can create ripples. And so I want to create these ripples of happiness, these ripples of kindness. It's a lovely group. So we meet every Monday. I'm in Germany, I'm in Europe, so we meet in the evening, which means it can be in the morning. And please come join the community. Come have a chat, dip in and out, come regularly, whatever you want. This Monday, we are going to be talking about connection, about relationships, why, the research behind it, and why it's so important. And we're going to do some, actually, I'm going to do some coaching exercises as well to give you a whole tools to work through, so you'll work through it. And yeah, I really hope that that's going to be such a powerful session, and it's all free. All of that is free.
I'll make sure I join that one.
Yeah, please. I would love you to
Send me the
join.
link. Yeah, send me
I
the
will
link
send it
and
to
I'll
you.
share it
Come
with
join us. We'd
everybody.
love to have you. And it's also very interactive. It's not just me like just talking at you. I share stuff, but I always include people, and I want to hear people's thoughts. And I love it because then I hear like, the real language around it and the real conversation around it. And then I put it into a blog post and a YouTube video for people to get access to. And it's just, come join us. Love, 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 love to have anyone who would like to be there. It's all that is free. So
I love that it's free, because not everyone can afford coaching or other stuff, right? Some people really, 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 really want the help, but they can't afford it. So thank you for thinking of people like that who cannot afford it, and you
I
still
really
provide.
appreciate that. I understand that. I mean, obviously, it is my job. I have to live.
You have to.
I need to
Yes.
earn money. So I have to charge for it. And
Mhm.
so, so I have individual work. That's why I also have group programs, because then it's much more affordable because I do it. And my groups are always still small enough that you have individual attention, but it's much more manageable. And then I often have a place for someone who really needs it but can't afford it. I always have space. And and then I have the Happiness Club, I have my blog post, my YouTube channel. So there's loads of free resources there as well. So don't let cost be a factor. Reach out to me. There's lots of ways to help you and support you
Yeah.
within your budget. And that's why one of the reasons as well with the book was to reach people. If you can't afford to come in the group program, at least get the book. It is literally step by step guiding you through. There's exercises in it. You can follow the book, and it will at least give you a great starting point. I think it'll change you, but it's also a great starting point. So there's something for everyone, but please reach out. Don't let cost be the hindrance. There's a way to work together, definitely.
Oh, fear. People fear, right? Not They fear that what they have to share is not good enough, or someone has it worse. We all have our own stuff we go through. I love that you make it interactive, because I think it's so, so important to hear other people's voices and stories. When we always speak for them, we kind of silence their passion to have anything to say. They kind of put a lid on it. So I thank you for doing that as well. It's important.
Well, how many of you feel like you're not heard? How much
Yeah.
How many of you have grown up not feeling heard? How many of you feel that here because we
Mm-hmm.
feel like we've never been able to express ourselves, or we never feel that we're acknowledged or that we're seen
Yeah.
or valued.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is why it's so important that your voice is heard, that you are equally important. We all, I know what it's like. I felt like I was never heard. It's probably why I talk so much now. But it's like, it's so important. And anytime I work on any of that, releasing that trauma, it's always here. Think about when you're choked with emotion, it's always right here, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. And I think it's so important because, I meet all these incredible women who don't see what I see, who don't feel
Mm-hmm.
any worth or that they're good enough. Yeah, they're incredible. And then when you come in a group, you're thinking, why am I in this group with all these people? They're amazing. And they're all sitting feeling the same. Like, I don't feel I'm amazing. You're amazing. And I'm like, we're all amazing. Let's just start believing in ourselves. So there's such power in just
Yeah.
being in a group. And well, I guess if you're scared of that, which I understand if you've got a lot of fear, I work hard and I work hard to earn your trust and to create a safe space. That's why I work with women only, to be in a safe space where you can practice that, where you can learn that,
Yeah.
where you can practice where you realize, oh, I can
Mm-hmm.
give my opinion, or I can have a disagreement, or whatever, or learn to speak up
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
in a safe, supported way. And that's a big part of it. So if you feel like you would love to be that person, but you're terrified,
Mm-hmm.
then come into my small groups and
Yeah.
and practice. And that's what a lot of the people, even in my happiness club,
Mm-hmm.
I usually speak to them and I'll check out, are you feeling painfully shy? Or you really want to try? Can I? And I try and just gently over time pull people in. And people have really come out of their shells because of that, because they realize they can talk, they're important, and everyone was so happy and positive, or it resonated with
Yeah. Yeah.
other people what they said. And so, yeah, you're spot on. You've really got to, yeah. Unfortunately, as they say, change doesn't happen in your comfort zone. And unfortunately, the good stuff happens when you feel uncomfortable. And I say you have to get comfortable feeling uncomfortable. You have to get a little bit uncomfortable, because that's where the change happens. And I feel uncomfortable every single day of my life because I'm constantly
Yeah.
pushing myself. But what I would say is that comfort zone, rather than thinking about, oh, you've got to get out of it,
Yeah.
I always say just do a little bit and be comfortable, like expand your comfort zone a little bit.
Yeah.
Feel good, get comfortable with that.
Mm-hmm.
Take the next little step, get comfortable. And so you grow your comfort zone, you expand it rather than feeling I've got to get way out of my comfort zone. All these little steps you take, just
Mm-hmm.
you expand your comfort zone, and life gets better and better the more you do that. And it's less scary.
Yes, you're right. Example for me is podcasting, and I
Mm.
also paint. When I first
Love that.
started both of them, I'm like, what are you doing? I just wasn't comfortable at all. And it took
Mhm.
me a while to do video podcasting
Mhm.
because I was looking how professional podcasters does it, and I wanted to do that, not realizing that they had to start at the bottom. They had to start somewhere. So
Mhm.
that's where I'm starting, kind of climbing up, and hopefully I can help the world heal
And that's
alongside many people like you and others.
And that's great. And I think that's great to share that. And I was the same, like I grew up with not thinking I'd anything worth talking about. So you can imagine doing this. So that's right. I started running groups and I started running workshops. And then I show up and I meet complete strangers and talk to them about stuff. And then, yeah, that was my goal. I'd love to be a podcast guest. I'd like to reach more people. So I started, and the first podcast I showed up on, I had notes written all over the place, all around, hoping oh gosh, I hope it'll be okay. And now, like you, I can rock up and talk. And then I started doing summits. And with the book,
Mm-hmm.
I grew up with a very, very strong limiting belief that I couldn't write, because I had an English teacher who just followed me all through high school, who repeatedly said to me, you are no good at English, you cannot write, you are appalling at it, you are no good. And so here I am. I'm so proud of myself for doing it. Whatever. I mean, and I look at the book now and I think, oh, there's lots of things I would change in it. But it was such a personal, not just a professional achievement, but a personal achievement to write and publish a book. Because there were so many times I just wanted to stop because that voice was there. You can't do this. You're no good.
Yeah.
And so that's a big example of me getting right out of my comfort zone, dealing with all those demons and going, yeah, there I am. I did it. And so, yeah, your story might, at the end of the day, what is the worst that'll happen?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe I'll have a just collapse while I'm in interviewing.
Yeah, you might pass out because you're like, oh, or you might go blank or it doesn't record. But again, it's that thing of like, that's the event. How bad is it really?
Yeah.
And that's where that self-compassion kind voice comes in. Like I did that book for me. And well, I did it because I wanted to reach people.
Yeah.
But it was a huge achievement professionally and personally. And at the end of the day, I got so much from it. And if everyone says it's rubbish, okay, then I learned from that and I changed, I improved from that. And yeah, there's lots of, when you put it out there on Amazon, I've got great reviews and there's a few in there and you think, oh, thanks a bunch.
Yeah.
But that's also like, that's that part of learning to deal with stuff. You can't please everyone. Not everyone will like you. Your style isn't for everyone. Not everyone will want to work with me as a coach. That is okay. My book won't resonate with everyone, but it also does resonate with many people, and that's okay. It's not a reflection on me. There's always things, and that's that compassionate voice is like, it's okay, but what can I learn from it as well? Is there stuff that I can learn from this? How can I grow? But also, I'm not going to really take it to heart and beat myself up about it either.
Yeah, I'm sorry you had to go through that with your teacher.
It was awful. It was
Those people,
horrendous.
they're like flies. I just flickered them off and away from me because the way that someone talks or treats someone is a reflection of their pain. It's a reflection of how they're feeling. So when someone's nasty to me, I said, thank you. I can see right through you. Thank you for sharing. Right? You're right. It's not for everyone. And until
But
we
that's okay
understand
when you're an adult, isn't it? It's okay when you're an adult. But I was a 12-year-old kid who was already highly anxious and shy and didn't have people to talk to. So nothing balanced that up. I just had that's what happens when you have a negative framework. You interpret information to fit with that. So maybe you're listening to this and you feel that everything confirms what you already know, that I'm not good enough. It's because you fit it with that. It's not until I could come out of that and start to change myself. And of course, now I look at it and think, gosh, that woman had so many issues. And she did. And I wasn't the only person she didn't like, but she was in a position of power as a teacher. And unfortunately, she came to a very tragic end as well, probably because of who she was. I don't wish that on anyone. Absolutely not, nothing. But I can see that now. But it had a really big impact. She was in a position of power and she really impacted, she didn't nurture me. I love books. I love reading. I love writing. And she tried to destroy that rather than nurture that. But if you're here now as an adult, it's important to apply that, as you're saying. Does this person encourage me? And, is this part of my cheerleading squad? Like, is this people that are cheering me on and lighting me up and encouraging me? Is that person tearing me down? Well, you don't need those people in your life. People have stuff and that's okay, but you don't need to have their toxicity,
Yeah. And I find that some adults, they also bully other adults. I thought that was just for kids until I started to mature and grow up. I've always been an introvert. I talk to people. I have very few friends because I don't do drama, anything toxic, I'm out, right? And I hope those people who do that, they wake up one day and learn to talk and tell people what's really going on. Yeah.
And there's a lot of research about particularly women. Women like to have a few close friends as opposed to men tend to have a lot of kind of
Yeah.
more acquaintances. Not, they don't tend to have more of like a best friend, but women do.
Mhm.
And there's lots of research that as you get older, you have fewer friends. And Oprah recently
Mm.
said that she has 3 friends, and you think Oprah must have like a million friends. Like everyone loves Oprah. But she has 3 best friends, and that's what it is. And it's partly is that like as you get older, I'm in my 50s. I'm like, I don't care how many Facebook acquaintances I have. That doesn't resonate with me. That's not my community. That doesn't
Yeah.
make me feel good. It doesn't matter if I've got 5 friends or 1,000, it doesn't matter. And also, yeah, I
Mhm.
still don't want any drama. I don't need all that. I'd rather have 1 or 2 or 3 super deep, meaningful connections than
Mhm.
100 acquaintances.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that is it. Don't be afraid. That's again, it's all that. What do we measure happiness by? What do we measure success by? And in our lives now, social media is saying, well, you need to have 1,000 Facebook friends or 10, 100 likes on your post or, 10,000 TikTok followers or whatever. And that
Yeah.
isn't, and we're mistakenly thinking that's our community, that's our connection. We are
Mhm.
not connected to 10,000 followers. I use
Mhm.
social media to try and reach people, to help people. I genuinely want to help people and reach them, but it's not the sole marker of my success.
Mhm. Mhm.
It's not a marker in terms of my personal success in life.
Yeah.
So yeah, don't be afraid to let all that go, and don't have any FOMO, don't have a fear of missing out. You're not missing out anything. Think any time that you've lost your phone or it doesn't work
Yeah.
and you finally go back on your messages. Did you miss anything? No, you don't miss out anything. Don't have FOMO. I'm all for JOMO, the joy of missing out.
Yeah.
Simplify your life, get rid of all that stuff, and enjoy the stuff that's really important.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually did an episode called FOMO.
Yeah,
I did, and
yeah,
there's JOMO and a bunch of
yeah,
different terms that I
yeah,
described, and
yeah,
I talked about that.
yeah,
Yeah, that's awesome.
yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much for your time. How do you say thank you in your language? I'm looking at birds, they're on the tree.
Well, we say thank you because I'm an English, so yeah, English speaker. In Germany, we would say Dankeschön. So
In what? Sorry?
Dankeschön. Dankeschön means thank you in German.
Dang.
We're also an Italian family, so we say grazie. So
Oh,
yeah.
grazie. I love Italian. Grazie. Thank you.
Yeah, me too. I love it.
Yeah, do you have any final thoughts that you would like to share before I let you go?
I think just to sum up, please know that you can have the life that you want. That so much of that is within your control,
Mm.
and that to seek out support, to find that person or people that can help you
Yeah.
is an absolute sign of strength. It's not weakness.
Mhm.
You are brave, you're strong, and I have utmost respect for people that want to figure stuff out. There's nothing more positive than wanting to sort yourself out, be the best version of you
Mhm.
so that you can be happy and also that you can then spread that out to all the people around you.
Mhm.
Don't be afraid to reach out for help, and yeah, come join the happiness club. We'd love to see
Yeah,
you.
thank you so much. Yeah, that
Thank
concludes.
you.
You're welcome.